I got a conundrum.
Mm.
Um, I started, as I showed you, I had some issues with performance with the chat, and there were quirks and things like that. And then it became apparent that I would have to, first of all, fixing those problems long term. Started to present increasingly large amounts of surface area, so the code gets
Mm.
quite complicated quite quickly. And then additionally, we have all these extra features that need to pile on. And I'm like, I don't have the time to do that. I don't want to be doing it right now. There's more essential things to do. And then the third problem is that I feel like if it's just you and me, the interface is fine. But for good adoption, people come and they do expect a high quality interface, even if it's just a beginner's app. And I fucking hate it. Like I hate it when the interface sucks. And I'm like, you know, so uh, considering those things, the issue I come to you with, choice A is persist with what we've got, knowing that it takes increasingly large amounts of time. It's burdensome to use if you start hitting the edge cases. Um, Multiple people coming on the platform, they're going to complain about the user interface. Um, it's a lot of work to fix it, and I'm going to end up having to explain how different bits need to work, or this and that and the other thing. And so the key problem there is that because the design is kind of not set, you and I know what it needs to be, but for someone to come and work on it, we would need to constantly be involved, being like, no, no, not like that, like this, right?
Mhm.
Because
Mhm.
there's no stabilizing force on it, right?
Mhm.
That's option one. Option two is so I found this, which is Libra Chat, which I've brought up before a number of times. So this has things like so the chat performs well. Um, it's got buttons for stuff and all sorts of tools. It's got very interestingly, it's got like a lot of providers. So there's all these providers we can choose from.
Mhm.
Um, it's got reasoning. They got maybe like too many features, but they've done a good job at packaging all the features together, holding the UI consistent. And they have a state board, which I will show you as soon as this thing pops up. Yeah, so code highlighting. I mean, that's all nice. Sorry, man. I'll find it in a second. Hey, here we go. So here's the state board that they got, and it can show you things like oh dear, I was just exercising the chat to see how its performance was.
Mhm.
It's pretty good, to be honest. But what the hell? So here. So like that's an example of a thing that shows up in the chat that pulls up the state board.
Mm-hmm.
and they got like all sorts of issues that we would have to deal with, like um, that little thing there, this little button. The whole thing is internationalized, so you got like 12 different major languages that it can handle. Down the side here, we've got prompts, so we can actually modify the system prompts, system parameters. That's all done. Basically, there's a huge chunk of stuff that's all done. And I'm like, well, we can. Parasite's a bad word. Piggyback, maybe? Like,
Mm-hmm.
we can insert our concept of frames into this area here with what I think is a very small amount of change to the UI, to the
Mm-hmm.
code, and sort of like we can ride or sidecar this project where if I'm very, very careful about how I insert our product, our platform into it, we can present this highly polished interface off the bat if we're willing to make some concessions on it. So I
Mm-hmm.
can go through the concessions for you, but I should probably give you a chance to say something or speak up or whatever.
I see no problem in theory of it. I guess it's how much. What's the trade-offs?
Yeah, right. Okay, so the concessions. Just before we get into that, I wanted to highlight the incentives that seem to be holding the project in line with us, or us in line with them. So they are committed to this stateboard interface, right? It's been like that for a very long time.
Mm.
They are committed to a chat-based interface. So you got chats over down here, and you've got this chat scrolling thing. They're committed to providing loads of different providers. Basically, in their eyes, they see it as unifying AI, like bringing all the AI tools in the world into one place. And so the incentives that I'm interested in is that they will always polish this interface to keep it minimal, to keep it logical, reasonable. They'll keep packing in the latest AI functions as best they can to this interface, but they'll always leave it in a good end user state.
Mm-hmm.
And why that's good for us is I'm like, well, we're always going to want the same things as them, except we just want to load iframe content over here. And we want to make this drop down for bots also include naps and other things like that. And the temptation or the lure is that we might there's a definitely a trade-off or concession. Like we can end up in a position where it can be really hard to change out of some fundamental things. Like if we realize that we're actually fundamentally different in some area, those changes can be near impossible because it's so intertwined or interlaced in their system that it would be unfeasible to change for us. I can't see anything like that. It looks perfectly aligned. Some of the concessions are that if they fall off the pace or stop developing, we can't really carry the burden of staying compatible with all these providers. However, that seems like something stuckable. What else were the concessions? The time that I'll have to burn up front to, first of all, I'm burning time to figure out if it's even possible to cleanly insert ourselves into the system. I'm not 100% sure yet. It's looking good. But that's why I'm sort of coming to you, because I'm like, well, when we spoke, you were like, you need to do transclusions. I'm like, yeah, I need to do transclusions. Doing this is not transclusions, but gives us a a presentable interface, like a mass market interface that without any extra effort or dicking around, and it's useful to us right now. Like we could use this, it would feel nice. So I guess there's a lot of competing goals here, and that's what I need help with. That's yeah.
How vibrant is this community? Because this is open source, isn't it?
I would rate it as wild.
I'd expect that. Yeah.
Ways to prove exactly how wild. GitHub stars 28,000, forks 5,000.
Whoa. Whoa.
Those are quite smoking numbers, really. History of stars.
Look at this guy.
It's sort of not looking like, where's the S curve? Is it there?
Yeah.
Or is it?
We don't know yet.
There?
You can't
Or is
tell
it?
on the steep part. You can't tell where the S curve goes.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
They've started a business around it, so they've kept the front end open source, but they're selling development containers, so you can.
Like you've got that one running there. I saw the URL. Your previous example.
Oh no! They're not selling that. They're selling It's like Codex there. It like fires up Docker containers and then runs stuff for you, and that's what
so
they're
it's-
charging money for.
Is it proxying the tokens so you don't have to link up APIs, or is that what they're doing?
I don't actually know, to be honest. But yeah, that's what they're selling. So that's completely separate to the front end.
Yeah.
They've sort of staked their claim as being open for the front end, so they might not be switching away from that. Their corporate desires don't seem to be colliding with having a free front end. They're just simply a provider of a complex component, which is Codex-like, the Codex-like Docker environment.
Okay. But the front end seems very healthy, exceptionally so. So they're going to be able to outrun us in every direction. We just don't know which direction. We don't have a way to steer that direction. And you've got the question about whether you can insert frames into their state board.
I can definitely do that. Yep. The complication is, can I, because they use a traditional web server and a traditional database, a MongoDB database, and the question is, can I make Artifact present like a database without causing, like, I'm going to rely on the file format that I can use without sort of doing translation, or like I would prefer to store on disk as close to the format as what they have as possible. And so would that file format that was meant for a database and turned into a file system, would that be incomprehensible or unnecessarily obtuse because
Mm.
they aren't trying to store on disk. They are trying to store in database, and so there's
Mhm.
some unknowns around how I would map that effectively. Like it, it might be okay. It might need some translation, but yeah, that's really the. I think the effort thing is like the effort it takes to keep up with them, and you know, we only have to keep up when we want to. Like if we have a perfectly fine working version, we only have to upgrade once there's some benefit to it for us. Is
Mhm.
the effort to keep pace with them and get their features going to be um, less effort than building our own front end for the benefits we get for us, our users, for our goals, for all of that? Um,
Mhm.
and then, second, a different concern is will they switch some way that's incompatible with us? And I really don't think they will. And either way, we've got all the source code,
Yeah.
and a bunch
Well,
of their users will want to stay with them anyway. So there'll be like a project fork, and we'll just stay bonded to that. I mean, fuck.
yeah, I don't think we have to worry about them diverging wildly because the database thing is a concern. But uh, they're probably just going to add bells and whistles and make it more robust and, you know, more of the same, I'd imagine. Um, and we can deal with, if they do diverge wildly, we can deal with that at the time, because time is of the essence right now. How much time would it take to use this instead of the current code base?
Um,
Or how much, what kind of effort were you
what
talking
kind
about?
of effort? Yeah.
That's big.
So
Yeah.
I'm still probing the code base. I think that if I take the approach where I'll just turn on very small little features at a time, so that it's really just a stripped down version of what they offer, but the key is the compatibility with their code base. I think I can have a working version either tomorrow or the next day. Uh, it all going well because I haven't finished. I got a theory. The theory looks real good because it looks like they actually channel all of their communications with the server through a single data component, which is very nice of them. Like I have to say, this code base is maybe the cleanest code base I've seen. Like it's eerily clean. It's like AI clean. Like it's been ground over by an AI that was prompted for code style and cleanliness. Like it is pristine. I'm like,
Oh,
who the fuck makes clean code? This guy,
a
obviously,
very
somehow.
large number of people using AI to write code.
Yeah, and it's the small, the concise, the files. I'm like, wow, that's something. Um, but the architecture that followed is that all the communication goes through this one, um, almost like they called it a data provider, but it looks a lot like almost like a domain specific language. Like it's an object that has these functions on it that mean things to them, and it then turns that into API calls that hit the server and pull out the database records and then send the result back down, and then it hands it back to the app. So I want to intercept the data provider and make it use Artifact for doing its execution calls and its data retrieval.
Mhm.
Um, and so I think that if that is the case, and I've been probing it with Codex and Grok, and it seems to be that that's actually what they've done is absolutely everything goes through this component, which is so kind of them. And if I flick that out and I can produce a reasonably performing equivalent, then we're off.
Okay, that seems reasonable.
The second problem, the other problem in that vein is that the UI compatibility was what I wanted to also talk to you about. So this is a single user interface, and we would be retrofitting multi-user. So we've got these chats down the side. I don't really want to modify how the, like, how would we have our notions of, we don't even know how to express our notions of chats anyway. Multi-user chats, I assume they'd just show up down the side here and they could be grouped or whatever. Like, I could replace this panel with something, but maybe my sort of more squeamish question is, this is what everyone's used to. Maybe we should just leave it as that. And then, like, you can have multi-user chats, they're just here too. But, you know what I mean? Like, and, like, this is...
Selecting a chat on the left side could throw up a frame on the state board with whatever we want. Presumably.
It could, but that's not really the design that they've got. Picking a chat here loads it here, and then the state board loads based on that chat, which as we were talking about was sort of one of the quirks that we'd found with our layout, is that we need the state board bonded to the chat. And so this has it well. Like, if I squint my eyes and replace all of these side buttons with our per scope buttons, so all of these, so those just go down the side of the state board now. Like, that's the editing the context tools. And then the state board stays locked to the chat, and you can browse the chat to click previous versions of the state board. And then the actual chat itself, I mean, we kind of had it as you pick that and you see all these chats. I don't know, it's not terribly different to show them just in their own dedicated little thingy here.
It's not different at all, really.
At all, right?
Yeah.
And then, like, over here, you can have, like, contacts and whatever else you wanted. Or it could be even a pop-up of some kind, because they do, like, when it comes to files, they manage files like this, right? Which is not great, because we need a much more sophisticated file management tool. But this can just open up the state board, and then we got all that space to play with the tool. Why would you need to select your files and change the chat that you're in, that you were attaching the files to? Like, those types of operations are not really, they don't go together.
No, you wouldn't need to. In fact, you should stay in one mode or the other.
Right, and that's what I'm talking about, these compromises that sort of, they will sort of rub against us the wrong way a little bit, but if we relax those types of things, we can get this very polished thing for very little effort, for less effort than it would take us to build our own interface. And I'm not seeing any losses. We might get a little bit of dorkiness at some point, but in my poor little meat brain, I can't come up with any examples of where we couldn't achieve everything that this interface of ours laid out. I can't imagine how this one wouldn't do it.
Okay, so on first blush, I see no problem with using this. In fact, I see a couple benefits.
What are the benefits?
Having a large number of people thinking about a UI means that they're going to tend towards something that might not be what we would choose, but then what we
Right.
choose might be quite niche, and they're naturally,
Correct.
because there's a larger number, they're going to
Correct.
get towards something that is more adoptable by others.
Correct. Absolutely. And they'll fix the quirks, and they'll do the performance tuning, which is what was really fucking grinding my gears.
Yeah.
And there might be some future developments in the AI world that we can't foresee yet that they will integrate.
Yeah. So my initial response is yes, we should do this, and just be prepared that we might have to jump through hoops to get some stuff in that we need.
Mm-hmm.
But the benefits outweigh that, because this is just, especially with the community that's that active, this is just going to get lovely, quite nice. And also, if there's new stuff that this large group of people think about, then at least it'll be available. As long as we don't lose the core of, all the stuff we've been talking about in terms of
Right.
chats and group chats and all that good stuff. In terms of, but those are mostly frames and what context you're talking about, as in what's the left hand thread that you're talking to.
Yeah, and I mean, like, a group chat feels like it'd fit perfectly in here.
It would.
And then we'd just
Well, is it at the moment? It's a group chat of two, isn't it? Just happens that one's
right.
AI.
Yeah, right. And so we might have to do some UI twiddling to make it more clear when another human speaks, or another who the agent is. Like here, it's the agent is named Grok, but doesn't have an icon, for example. Oh no, there it does. Yeah, it does. Okay, so it's a bit.
Yeah. You'd
Sometimes.
also, if you're going to go down that route, you'd have to give it some way of talking to someone else on the group chat as opposed to talking to Grok, because at the moment it's one-on-one. So
Yeah.
if you put in a text, Grok
Yeah.
goes, "Well, you're talking to me." But if there's like two people and Grok, we don't want Grok firing off every time.
Yeah, so that I felt was, for the meantime, better, as we can put a model in front that sort of gives it some basic manners. It's like, are you talking to me? Are you talking to me? And then it runs based on that. Or we can do the manual way, akin to the / we used to have, which is just you got to like mention the agent that you want to reply to you.
Yeah, about the
then,
at thing people are used to, right?
Yeah.
You're on X. It's like
Yeah.
at
But
Donald Trump.
see, an example of where where I'm loath to make modification is if I want to select this chat item and add it to the context, or if I want to like reply to this message, then I end up in the realm of adding another one of these buttons here. But I guess that's not, it might not be as much effort as it seems, because the code base is extraordinarily well laid out. Like I said, it's maybe the best layout I've ever seen. But I think also the code base being so nice showed me that it's fucking massive. And I'm like, if we want anything approaching those features, we're going to end up with a massive code base too.
Well,
I don't want to be.
You're mentioning that in the last call. It's like we're barely scratched the surface of this.
Yeah,
Every time we uncover another thing, it's ripples through.
it ripples through, yeah. And so this is a way that we can be like, our incentives and our goals for the UI front end are so similar that we should concede whatever differences we come across for the sake of having this huge code base, tested, tried, constantly improved, battle tested. It's just ours.
Yeah. I mean, if you add chat and transclusions, and by transclusions, the repo file structure, then that, with this interface, would be more than enough to work with.
Right, because basically it'll be the files thing, right? I'm just like, hey, here's the files frame, and you go around, you pick your files, or you pick a whole repo. It shows up as one of these little transclusion things, and then off you go, basically.
Yeah. Yeah.
And because the search highlighting with them works. Everything performs well and looks nice. And like they got shit like mobile. So if I really scrunch it down, and then I make this be like a Samsung, then like they've already got, it's already formatted nicely for a mobile.
Yeah, that's the long tail of irritating stuff that is really not worth your while. But
Not at all, like not even close, right? And yet it's just here. It's just here.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I think this is a good way to go, and we'll just have to jump through some hoops in order to bend with the wind, as opposed to trying to.
Yep, because it's not really our primary goal to make yet another AI interface for people, right? Like we're not.
Yeah, we're on the functionality side, not on the US side.
Right.
Is necessary.
They don't have anything. They don't have frames. They don't have naps. We're coming with naps. We're coming with frames.
And innovations being a big one.
Yeah, but we're really coming with backend and intelligence, like context systems, context engineering, blockchain integrations. The UI is actually whopping, but we're not. I don't think we gain a lot from it. It's a table stakes thing. It needs to look good, and it needs to present the state board. And it's what goes in the state board that matters, and what goes in the chat that matters.
I agree.
Okay.
Easy to use this. I think it's the right way to go.
All right. And then we'll just have to accept a little friction with things like a reply or a quote, or adding a selection to the context or things like that, for the benefit of like all this other stuff that just works, works. And it's like, this would be nice to use, man. If this was our daily driving tool and it was hooked up to Artifact, I would be like, I kind of might enjoy my life a bit.
Yeah. And also offloading all the stuff that really is a grind, compatibility, different browsers. I'm assuming those guys are all over that.
All over that, right? That's because that's their domain space. I don't give a shit about IE7. They might. Yeah. And they got like, and like config, like all the different stuff you can do, the speech to text, it's nice. I'm like, it's really nice.
So the big one really is the compatibility with their database and our file folder
Yeah. So I
structure.
will, yeah. So the reason I was so sort of a bit panicked to call you was like, I want to do that and I want to do that tomorrow. If we don't think it's a good idea, then I would have effectively wasted a day. So let's not do that. But sounds like you're like, hey, you should
Yeah,
you
I'm
should
in agreement with this.
you should get
Because
amongst that.
it's a good thing, and will be the net effect will be positive.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I'll get on to that. I will do it and get back to you with the eye to bail early. But honestly, the more that I talk to you about it now and hear your opinions too, I'm like, yeah, it's kind of like the work to even approach this level of quality of UI is not trivial.
Yeah.
And the loss during the time that we have a crappy UI, like we will bleed users, we will bleed all but the dedicated. This is not something that you can pass to an everyday person. I mean, our version is not something you can pass to an everyday person, but this is.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
All right.
Very sensible.
Okay. All right. Can I have another topic? Do you have time?
Yep, go for it.
A strategy change. Not a pretty one either.
Oh dear.
I'd been referring to the lamp as the innovations panel only because a light bulb was like a modern day lamp.
Yeah.
But that's not really the lamp. The lamp, I guess, is the ambient attribution agent, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I've become more convinced that it needs to be, first of all, needs to be an agent because it's going to be. Have we got time that I can play you the video definition of what the COO of OpenAI calls an agent?
Yeah, go for it.
Have you seen this video?
No, I haven't. Let me just check. I've got a couple pings on text. I'll stay in the room. Just want to see those somewhere.
I mean, I'll probably get, yelled at by someone.
No,
at
it will
OpenAI
not be controversial at all.
who's
Everybody
written
will
this
agree.
definition. I mean, for me, agents have a very high bar. It has to be a system that can be reliably handed complex work that it can take on autonomously, and execute at a high level of proficiency, where it hasn't seen that work before. And that last part is a critical piece. These aren't just things that are trained to copy. They have to be things that kind of implicitly leverage the reasoning ability of the model to solve new problems. And this is going to be important in a lot of domains. And so people use the word agent. I think there's maybe an enterprise productivity context of it. There's maybe a science, kind of context of it. There's a software engineering context of it. But the kind of common thread for me is it has to be something that you can actually hand something to. You almost work in tandem with, kind of like a teammate, and that teammate could be a scientist, it could be a software engineer, it could be a data scientist.
Could you give me like a hypothetical example of like a kind of task?
Yeah, I mean, I think software engineering has an obvious set, which is you could ask it to basically go off and actually write code for you, and then kind of similarly go do the QA, go do all the unit testing, go automate kind of meaningful parts of this process of the of code writing. And in a different context, I would say it's working with agents that can make your sales teams more efficient. So slotting into parts of your sales funnel where you have a volume problem, where it's like, okay, I've got 100,000 inbound leads for a thing, but I've got 5 people to look at them. Can you actually have an agent that can ingest those leads and understand those leads, process them, qualify them, move them through your funnel, recommend who should talk to who, recommend all the follow-up steps, and ultimately kind of drive a lead toward a conversion. So it's a generalizable concept that kind of maps into any number of areas. I mean, I'll probably get yelled at by someone.
No,
at
it will
OpenAI
not be controversial at all.
Yeah. So,
Yeah, that makes
um,
sense. Kind of the way we've been well, the way we refined it to be used.
right. But
Um,
the key thing I took away from that was that it needs to, agents are the things that deal with work they haven't seen before.
mhm.
And so attribution is always new. Like it's always going to be something that hasn't been seen before, and it needs to be an agent because it needs to have shared context from one ruling to the next, which means that there needs to be one agent on the platform. And so I'm starting to see that the genie in the lamp, the one that we're trying to release, is this agent that goes around intelligently telling everyone how much they're worth for their contribution, the real contribution, but also their theoretical contribution, where it's like, if I did this, what would I get? You're like, well, here's this thing, right?
Mm.
And it needs to be one because it doesn't make sense. It couldn't be a correct ruling if it didn't have all the context of all the other rulings.
Mhm.
Okay?
Yes.
Right. So if that's the case, then I know this is a shitty move to do, but perhaps the correct move is to just blaze straight past. So get the innovations panel up, yes, because we need to be able to capture faults and manage tasks and all that. But if we just immediately go from there to agents, and then from agents to ambient attribution agent, then we're like, where can you imagine is further than that place? Like, we have never spoken about what comes after that other than just blissful work. Like, there's nothing else that we need other than that. That is the top of the
No,
mountain for us.
that's our um, that's our end zone, isn't it?
That's the goal. Like, that's the,
Yeah.
we've hit the goal. And then when I also look at the practicalities of what we're doing, if I say that if we're doing something just for the sake of money, if that task only brings in the money that it, because every month we burn money,
Mhm.
and then when we do some work for some money, that work, like, even if it broke even with what our expenses were, it delayed us a month because it wasn't building the genie. Nobody has asked us for the genie. Nobody. And yet, if you look at it the right way, everyone's asking for it. Like, that's a that's a gamble that seems, I don't know what the word for that kind of gamble is, but it's like everyone I've ever met and ever dealt with needed this thing, but nobody asked for it.
Yeah.
That's a riotous, it's like the internet. Like, you go around the 1800s and you're like describing the internet to people, like no one asked for it, but they all needed it, right? Telephone lines are like, holy shit, where's this been in my life? And you're like, well, obviously you didn't imagine it. So what am I getting at? Maybe we should just dump everyone and everything and prioritize on getting that agent up, because, and what that might entail is that, you and I need to huddle and get the bid out. Maybe it's, I get us to agents and then we start going back and forth talking about how does the ambient attribution agent work here, how does it work there, what does it do in these different cases. Maybe it's like, we call in some old friends and be like, here's the system, this is what it does, what's the flaws, and we're using the light bulb or the innovation section to capture all the errors or the problems or the fallacies or the faults. We're using the chat interface plus our own agents to grind out and solve for some of those problems, to reason about them, to come up with plans and architectures that can achieve it. We're running projections, we're able to do project planning. Like, I'm just not seeing a space for, like, the amount of money that someone would have to pay us for a month's worth of work that would be worth it to delay the Genie by that month. I don't know what price you would take, but my price is pretty high. Like, pretty high. Because 1 month's delay is like, maybe it doesn't happen. You know, like, what's to say we don't get cancer or get hit by a bus or...
Yeah, no, I agree. Luckily, we're in the glorious spot of not actually earning anything. But
That's not true. That's not true. There's plenty for us to earn.
Yeah, but we're not contracted. We get to that stage of getting agents and everything we've been talking about, then I think, I don't know, this might be hubristic. We've talked about it for so long. I think we could do like a, I don't know, month sprint or whatever and get to an 80%. It seems that there's enough tooling, and now we've got AIs to advise as well, that we could quite quickly churn through to ambient attribution. We would be wise to have others look at it and use it, but just for our own benefit. And to start with, it's just going to be you and I using it, which will probably be good enough.
Yeah. It's also super valuable for negotiating rates for things and negotiating, fair outcomes between people. And if we don't have it, you can guarantee as soon as things start to get even slightly valuable, we'll have all manner of asshole coming with their view of what fair is and a deal structure. And, I think we've all been there and done that too many times to know that, too many times to not want to use this system for that.
Yeah.
But if we don't have this system, it sounds dorky when we're like, oh yeah, but we're just going to do this little thing. We're going to, right? Whereas me turning up to, say, a mortgage broker or an accountant firm and being like, all right, we got this thing, give me half a day and I'll show you how much better your life can be. And they're like, great, okay, let's sort out a deal. And then I'm like, oh, we got this thing called ambient attribution. And they're like, what's that? And then if it was a choice between I'm going to make you a PowerPoint presentation and wave my hands and talk emphatically at you, or here's this running system, you can query it right now, we can ask it ahead of time what this particular deal is going to work out as, and here's these other cases where it's been used. That one is a no-brainer. The other one is like, maybe these guys have gone off the deep end and taken too much of the AI Kool-Aid.
Yeah.
I feel like an idiot explaining ambient attribution without it working.
Yes, I have that problem as well. You start to lose people. Because it's too abstract. It's like... Oh,
right.
so
Well, they barely
lovely.
grasp the concept of agent, for one. AI is like this big woo-woo thing in the sky that just can somehow instantly answer questions, which it absolutely can't. And then, they're like, sorry, blockchain, what? And then you got all the... It's like, the baking fell apart in my hands.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
So, just for my own sanity, the genie in the lamp, the most expensive thing, the thing that we've sort of committed to ignore all other riches in order to possess or create or release this one thing, is the ambient attribution agent. Is that correct?
Yes. Innovations is just stocks scattering.
Right.
The first part of the process.
Okay. So innovations is the the adaptation, the evolutionary process within it, but ambient attribution is the reward mechanism. And we know from nature that you can't get meaningful evolution without an adaptation mechanism and a reward function.
Yeah.
And the genie is the reward function because that's what causes the growth. The evolution does not happen without the reward function being healthy, being strong.
Exactly. It's that old thing. Survival of the fittest doesn't mean the best. It means the most appropriate for
The
what's being
fittest.
asked for.
Yeah, and it's like, what is fittest in this environment? Well, right. So, okay, so we're in agreement there.
Yep.
Therefore, given that we are anaerobic, as in we've been burning stored capital for a long time, and I believe we have enough stored capital to make it to ambient attribution, what is the benefit in accepting any deviation or distraction from the production of the ambient attribution agent?
I would make that more nuanced. There is no. It's counterproductive to be distracted. So if it reduces, if it increases the time to get to ambient attribution, then it shouldn't be done.
Right. If the timeline for the arrival of the agent is pushed back, then it's a bad move.
The reason I'm doing that nuance is I think there's real value in, because at the moment I'm not contributing to getting ambient attribution up. There will come a time when absolutely that
Very soon, yeah.
Yeah. So I think there's still value in testing these hypotheses and talking to guys like the electricity company.
Oh yeah, well, whilst we don't have the agent, while I'm bottlenecking us, then what else is there to do? Because all those talks, they are not delaying ambient attribution.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah, but anything that delays ambient attribution is bad.
Right. And so this UI choice, I think it does not delay ambient attribution because the agent needs a well-rounded, reliable interface by which to interact with us and it and everything else. And so giving it a face or a platform or a home is important. And I think it's quicker to use LibreChat to get that than it is to write it from scratch.
Exactly, because in effect, the trade-off is some of the nuanced parts of the UI that we might want or may want in the future. We're going to have to jump through hoops. However, hand-rolling the entire thing will delay the point. Starting point to
that's right. It'll delay starting, and so we can deviate later, but we can get to starting point with style. All right, so that means that the trucking guys fall into the realm of unnecessarily delaying ambient attribution. It's as simple as that.
By that definition, you're right, because it's all on you at the moment. Anything that takes your time away from getting to the starting line to ambient attribution, which includes CRM, by the definition we've just given, is to be avoided.
Yeah.
It's a bit unfortunate, though, because
it is unfortunate, but that feels like one of the sacrifices that must be made. What else can we burn?
Well, it's in your task hopper, really.
So fuck everyone, release the genie, and then do our penance. after.
Yeah.
Okay. Because from that point on, the agent is clear. Like we can, anything we do, any improvements to the platform, any tasks that we fund, anything is ambiently attributable.
Yes.
There's
Yeah.
no like, we promise that or trust us that. It's like, no, ambient attribution
Yeah.
on the
Yeah.
tasks. We
Yeah.
agreed on the task, we put some money on it, and here's the deal. This is how you get paid. This is how you. Sure, AI is booming. Great. Here's the machine that's going to tell you how much of a boom, if a boom even happens for us, how much is going to you, me, and the Linux kernel.
Yeah. Yeah. Precisely.
And suddenly
That's
that
the point.
feels like we're off to the races with that, really, because that's the only thing we want to hold to, right? Is like we go to some VCs, we go to some friends, we go to whoever, and we're like, here's the task that we want to achieve, and here's how we're going to split the money.
Yeah, exactly.
It's
I mean,
not
ambient attribution has always been the big bet.
right. So it's actually insane for us to not actually get to the bet as minimally quickly
Yeah.
as
Yeah.
possible.
Which is why this UI change, I think, is a good thing, because from what you're saying before, you're foreseeing months of tweaks. It's like, okay, move this.
Yeah, yeah,
that.
but worse, months of living with the tweaks unfixed because there's higher priorities, and it's like that is crushing.
Yeah, yeah. It also has the benefit of everyone knows this kind of interface,
Mm,
so it's not going to be a huge surprise to them.
mm,
We just have to get the semantics and the functionality shoehorned into somewhere inside of that interface, such that
mm-hmm.
there isn't an overhead. That if there's an update, we have to go back.
Yeah,
Um,
it needs to be a very surgical insertion,
yeah,
and I strongly suspect that it's possible.
yeah. That piece of code you're talking about, where we basically cut out what they've got and put in artifact translation. Yeah, makes sense. Good. Yeah.
The ambient attribution agent. The whole point of this whole fucking exercise.
And ambient attribution agent also gives us a format for thinking about DAO agents as well.
How so?
But in ambient attribution, essentially, you're handing off to an AI to make decisions about, given a certain state and the rules that have been set.
Right.
Here's the output, and everyone who contributes is bound by the AI, and they can try and argue with it and so on, but they can't argue the toss with the other person. You got to talk to the bot.
Oh, right. So like the mechanics of how the ambient attribution agent works, it doesn't have to be fairness that it's in charge of. It could be the DAO actions, and you got to convince this bot. Right. Plus, we would also have in the back pocket agents running. And we're like, these are our agents that we follow our design protocols, and you can deploy them against whatever you want.
Yeah.
So that's fun too.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thanks, buddy. I'll.
Yeah. No worries. Still want to do tomorrow morning, or
can I message you? Because if I follow this guiding principle, fuck everyone.
Yeah.
Then I should get this UI thing up as quickly as possible, or find out that it's a bust as quickly as possible. So if I could message you throughout the day and be like that, I need the call or I don't need the call, that would be best for me. I
Yeah,
think.
cool. I'll just make sure I'm available.
Okay.
And if there's no text, then that's fine. There's text halfway through that slot
Okay,
or
cool.
even outside of it.
All right, I'll stop recording.